Did you ever read an old book and say to yourself, man, this would make a great movie or a Netflix series? Like The World Set Free by H.G. Wells, or the books of Murray Leinster, Edmund Hamilton, or William Hope Hodgson, or Futility of the Wreck of the Titan, that old book that predicted the Titanic. Those would make great movies or TV series, but they'll never get made. Or will they?
All my life, I've read old novels, listened to audiobooks on the bus, on long walks, in the car, and I kept thinking about the stories we never got to see, the ones that could have been amazing, the ones that, for one reason or another, never made the jump to visual media. And then along came AI. At first I thought maybe this was finally the moment. Maybe now, for the first time, a guy with enough imagination and enough stubbornness could actually start telling some of these stories visually. But if you were around in 2023, you know how that went. The images were hilarious. Character consistency was a disaster. Faces melted. Hands mutated. Scenes hallucinated into complete nonsense. It was like trying to direct a dream while the dream was actively having a stroke. So full cinematic storytelling still wasn't there yet, but I kept thinking, maybe there was another way. Maybe instead of waiting for a giant studio budget or waiting for perfect technology, I could do the next best thing. Serialized recap episodes. Stories presented as if they already existed in cinematic form. Not just summaries, but mood pieces, narrated journeys, strange lost episodes from worlds that never made it to the screen. That was the spark. So when the tools finally started getting good enough, I picked one of my favorite old science fiction novels, The City at World's End by Edmund Hamilton, and I serialized it into a full season. 9 episodes. And when I looked at it, I thought, well, I could drop this onto YouTube and let it vanish into the endless ocean of content, or I could build a home for all of it. Now, I'm a software developer by trade, and to a hammer, everything is a nail. So naturally, me and my new AI friends built a website. That website is AtomicFlix.com. It's my own weird little streaming service for the stories we never got to see but always wanted to. Classic books, strange forgotten tales, serialized recaps, original stories, a growing library of science fiction, mystery, suspense, and old-school wonder. Some of these are books I've already brought to life in recap form. Some are stories I'm actively building now. And some are books I still dream of turning into full-length movies someday. For now, AtomicFlix is where those dreams begin. You'll find serialized stories like The City at World's End, Futility, and The Last Panzer. And coming soon, I've got my eye on treasures like The Nightland, 2,000 Miles Below, The Secret of the Ninth Planet, First on the Moon, and plenty more. Because the truth is, there is a whole universe of incredible material out there, especially in old science fiction, adventure, and public domain literature, that most people have never seen adapted in any form. And then there's the other side of AtomicFlix, the original side, the flagship series, the Atomic Zone. This is where I get to make the kinds of stories I always wanted to see. Stories in the spirit of the Twilight Zone. Mysterious, suspenseful, strange, sometimes funny, sometimes dark, but always with that sense of wonder. What if the afterlife turned out to be exactly whatever you believed it was? What if paradise had zombies? What if an airliner suddenly found itself alone in a complete void? What if a bad decision, a greedy decision, or one tiny selfish decision opened the door to something terrible? That's what the Atomic Zone is. A place for eerie ideas, cosmic irony, surprising twists, and stories that sneak up on you. It's science fiction from a modern angle, but with the soul of the old classics. And one thing that matters to me a lot, it stays uplifting. No politics, no finger-wagging, no miserable agenda, just imagination, mystery, suspense, weirdness, and fun. And then, there's Gamora. Because no strange universe is complete without a toxic 1980s megacorporation run by spoiled heirs, basement science, bodyguards with very short life expectancies, and the worst people you've ever met making the worst decisions imaginable. The Gamora episodes are kind of their own beast, part corporate satire, part nightmare, part dark comedy, part 1980s fever dream. Nedry and Bella, spoiled, vicious heirs with more greed than sense. Junior and Nadine, the sweet, innocent souls trapped in the middle of it all. Stebner, the basement scientist whose bad ideas keep rewriting reality, even when he dies horribly. And the old man, a monstrous corporate tyrant who seems determined to rule forever, even from a hospital bed, a machine, or straight from the grave. Spoiled heirs, innocent bystanders, an evil scientist who refuses to stay dead, and one ancient corporate tyrant who can run an empire from a hospital bed, a coma, or possibly straight from hell. In the Gamora stories, every bad idea gets funding, every terrible plan goes live, and every episode ends with someone learning far more than they wanted to know about consequences. That's really what AtomicFlix is. A place for the stories that should have existed. A place for the stories I couldn't stop thinking about. A place where old books, lost ideas, serialized adventures, and original episodes all get a chance to step out of imagination and onto the screen. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, if you miss wonder, if you miss mystery, if you miss the feeling that a story can still surprise you, come visit AtomicFlix.com. Watch an episode. Take a trip through the atomic zone, and maybe rediscover the kind of stories you forgot you were hungry for. Because out there, beyond the algorithm, beyond the noise, beyond the ordinary, there are still worlds waiting to be seen. Welcome to AtomicFlix.